All right, so the first thing you do is cut through the dura mater. You can see the dura mater is this thick, tough stuff, and sometimes there'll already be a hole in it, but if there's not, you're gonna have to cut one. You want to cut along the longitudinal fissure, which is this deep part. This part of tissue is really tough, so it's hard to cut through. So you want to be careful when you're cutting through it that you're just cutting the dura and not anything else. And you also want to make sure you have a sharp razor, because that one was really dull. That one's better. So you cut through it so that you're separating the dura mater right from the brain. You'll find parts like this where there's a little bit that's still connected there. So again, you just gently cut through it so that you'll be able to separate that. And then this side I'm gonna cut through there. So the olfactory bulbs were here in the front. You can see these two things right here are the olfactory bulbs. All right, and the dura has to open up to let things like the olfactory bulbs through. So once I can peel that back, I'm going to turn it around and I'm going to do the similar thing here. This is the hardest part for getting the dura off. So you're going to cut again along this really tough part. You don't want to try to cut through that tough part. That's really hard. And you can cut along there, again, trying to separate it. Just being gentle that you're not cutting the brain. But see how deep I'm going in between the cerebellum and the cerebrum here in order to cut that off. I'm not all the way through it, and I'm not through it on this side yet because it's still connected to the cerebellum. A lot of yours, the cerebellum won't be covered anymore. I'm going to cut from the back to get through this on the cerebellum. And of course, I'm going faster than you will be able to go. So you're gonna wanna make sure you take your time, that you're not cutting the brain tissue. And this is some of that really tough connective tissue that's really hard to get through right here that separates the cerebrum and the cerebellum. Again, try not to cut too deep, but you can see that it goes all the way down in between the cerebellum and the cerebrum. So I'm trying to cut through that part. The wrong razor. Once I've got through, see how then it can peel back around the cerebellum. And so now I've peeled it all across the top part of the brain. Now I'm going to flip it over and start at the back and just peel it back off of the brain itself. Now there are some places where you can see it gets stuck, and so you're going to want to cut through those where it gets stuck, usually because there's some nerves still attached, and this still has the layer of dura close to the brain attached. Right, so I'm cutting through the nerves that are still attached. So you can see some very large nerves here. You're going to cut through that one there in order to be able to peel it back. All right, so some of them will just rip, but there's another one, so I'm just going to cut through these nerves as I'm peeling it back. Those two nerves just popped right off. And so you can see underneath here, this is part of the brain called the hypothalamus. If I put this back, you can see this little button right here, this structure, is the pituitary gland, right? So it hangs down from the hypothalamus. So when we lift this up, we can see that this was where it was connected. Right here is where the pituitary gland is. It was connected right here underneath the hypothalamus. This part right here is the optic chiasm. The optic nerves are right here. They come together to form the optic chiasm. This is a hard part to peel off. You're going to have to cut through the optic nerves in order to get the dura off. So on this side, I'm going to gently cut through here, through the optic nerves, and then I can peel the rest of the dura off. Or just stop it.